There will always be new pathogens with pandemic potential. It's not a matter of if, but when. I'm pleased that more leaders are now joining the call for a pandemic treaty, which would be a generational commitment to keeping the world safe.
World leaders gathering in Davos, Switzerland this week are going to discuss Disease X, a hypothetical virus 20 times deadlier than COVID-19. But what exactly is a Disease X? According to the World Health Organization, Disease X represents the knowledge that a serious international epidemic could be caused by an unknown pathogen.
In the wake of the unprecedented global upheaval caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, reflections on what we, as individuals, have gleaned from this transformative experience diverge significantly from the lessons drawn by the global entities dictating the norms for the rest of humanity. For the individual, COVID-19 was a personal journey of adaptation, isolation, resilience, and a newfound appreciation for the fragility of our personal freedoms. The narrative shifts when we consider what the global order, the architects of policies and regulations, absorbed from this global crisis. What might have been a moment of collective vulnerability for the world's population served as an intricate examination for global decision-makers. COVID-19 became a case study of systemic strengths and weaknesses, an assessment of international cooperation, and an opportunity to assert control over global governance. Lessons were drawn from how societies resisted draconian mandates, distinguishing effective policies from ineffective ones. COVID-19, in many ways, acted as a precursor, a rehearsal for what lies ahead. Recently, at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, discussions centered on Disease X and plans for extensive policy changes, signaling a pursuit of absolute authority over individual lives in the face of future challenges.
At the highest level, what do you think health systems should prioritize for an effective response to a potential crisis?
Yeah, I think that's a big question, but I would like to start with especially the Disease X. It's attracting a lot of attention, and I hope you have seen in the social media. But it's not a new idea. The first time we used the terminology was in 2018. As you know, we annually list the emerging diseases, and MERS could be one, Zika, Ebola, those we know. But then we said there are things that are unknown that may happen, and anything happening is a matter of when, not if. So we need to have a placeholder for that, for the disease we don't know that may come. And that was when we gave the name Disease X. So Disease X is a placeholder for unknown disease. And then the other key, in order to have better prepared and to address the disease, is the pandemic agreement. The pandemic agreement can bring all the experience, all the challenges that we have faced, and all the solutions into one. And that agreement can help us to prepare for the future in a better way, because this is about a common enemy. And without a shared response, starting from the preparedness, we will face the same problem as COVID. And deadline for the pandemic agreement is May 2024, and member states are negotiating. This is between countries, and I hope they will deliver this pandemic agreement by that time, on the deadline, because if this generation cannot do it, we're the lived community, we have the first-hand experience, I don't think coming generation, the next generation will do it. So for our children and grandchildren's sake, I think we have to convert all the lessons we have learned into this pandemic and prepare the world for the future, because this is a common global interest. and national interest, very narrow national interest, should not come into the way. Of course, national interest is natural, but it's the narrow national interest that could be difficult and affecting the negotiations even as we speak. So we're still not prepared, but I think there are many moving parts we have started, good ones, all of us together, that can prepare us better if we focus on the implementation of these initiatives. Thank you, and back to you.
What I believe is going on is the World Health Organization is now revising the structures that allowed the dissidents to upend the narrative, and they are looking for a rematch, I think. What they want are the measures that would have allowed them to silence the podcasters, to mandate various things internationally in a way that would prevent the emergence of a control group that would allow us to see harms clearly. Given what you now know, would you want to relive a pandemic like the COVID pandemic without the tools that allowed you to ultimately, in the end, see clearly that it didn't make sense to take another one of these shots or to have your kids take? Right? We want those tools. In fact, we need them. And something is quietly moving just out of sight in order that we will not have access to them the next time we face a serious emergency. The ability to do it is currently under discussion at the international level. And it's almost impossible to exaggerate how troubling what is being discussed is. In fact, I think it is fair to say that we are actually facing the elimination of our national and our personal sovereignty, and that is the purpose of what is being constructed.
In the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic in December of 2021, the World Health Assembly established an intergovernmental negotiating body, INB, to draft an international instrument, like a convention, strengthening what they call pandemic prevention and response, under the World Health Organization's constitution. This agreement would be a legally binding treaty between member state signatories. On the surface, such accords might seem like a collective effort to fortify global preparedness and response mechanisms. However, beneath this veneer lies a grave threat to individual rights. Many critics argue that such a contract would be dangerous to any country that signs on and could cede sovereignty to the World Health Organization, overriding national laws, such as the United States Constitution.
Then, come May of this year, your nation is almost certain to sign on to an agreement that in some utterly vaguely described future circumstance, a public health emergency, which the Director General of the World Health Organization has total liberty to define in any way that he sees fit. And in the case that some emergency or some pretense of an emergency shows up, the provisions that would kick in are beyond jaw-dropping. They will be entitled to mandate remedies. The remedies that are named include vaccines. Gene therapy technology is literally named in the set of things that the World Health Organization is going to reserve the right to mandate, that it will be in a position to require these things of citizens, that it will be in a position to dictate our ability to travel. In other words, passports that would be predicated on one having accepted these technologies are clearly being described. They also have reserved the ability to dictate how these measures are discussed, that censorship is described here as well, the right to dictate, that of course misinformation is how they're going to describe it. The World Health Organization is above the level of nations, and it is going to be in a position, if these provisions pass, to dictate to nations how they are to treat their own citizens, to override their constitutions, despite what Tedros just told you.